Go Blue, everybody. It's a coaching shakeup here at Michigan, and we give you the defense way too early depth chart, all coming at you next on Michigan Wolverines Live. And here we go, episode 131 here at the Voice of College Football. My name is John D'Adamo. You can follow me on Twitter at John D'Adamo, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so. Couple of things, as we always do. Please like this video, subscribe, and share with a friend. Let people know that we're live. We've got a lot of content today to cover, from the staff to depth chart to other news, and there's a lot going on. So let's get all the Michigan people out there and discuss, and we'll do that. If you would like to send us a super chat, please do that. Make sure that will guarantee that your comment or your question is read on screen. And we do have a guest, so you could ask both of us your burning questions about Sherrone Moore, the staff, players, whatever comes to mind. And without further ado, I think we should bring on our guest, who we had last week, and he's back with us to wrap up the defense depth chart. Figured we'd bring him back. TJ, Ronin Sports Talk, welcome back.
Hey, John, thanks for having me back. Some positive news with some coaching hires, and just looking forward to talk more about it.
Absolutely. And TJ, people gave us some grief on the last show for saying that Harbaugh's going to the Chargers, Sherrone Moore head coach. They called it clickbait. They said all these things, and now it's official.
Yeah.
It was actually official 24 hours after, or less than after we had our show. But now Sherrone Moore is officially the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. First African-American head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. That's huge. Obviously has risen the ranks of the program to last year being offensive coordinator. And, occasionally the head coach, depending on the week. So he's gotten some of that experience. So, TJ, just big picture first, do you think that this was the right hire? And do you think he's ready to kind of meet this moment in 2024?
Yeah, so this was 100% the right hire. Considering Kalen DeBoer was off the market, he'd be the only candidate I would even consider. Mm-hmm. But considering the culture, considering the players' familiarity with him, this is as smooth of a transition we could have. We could have found ourselves in an Alabama situation with 30 transfers in a week and a half. So I do think he's ready. But, listen, this is a big program. We could be looking at some learning curves, some bumps in the road. But as long as the staff is in place, we lost Ben Herbert, so that was a blow. But as long as the staff's in place, he can retain the staff, which is a lot of positivity with that. Steve Clinkscale, I'm hearing good things about. Elston's already on the road recruiting right now with Sherrone Moore. So, and Grant Newsome just got promoted, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But
yeah,
I think as long as there's continuity in the staff, I think it should be a pretty smooth transition.
Absolutely. And let's just dive into all those things that you just mentioned. So, obviously, Jesse Minter, I think we both expected, even last week before it was even announced that Sherrone Moore, I think you expected that Jesse Minter was going to go with Jim Harbaugh. He said repeatedly, apparently, that he wants to be in the NFL. I'm not shocked at all about this. The one that did shock me was Ben Herbert, for a lot of reasons. And I think the biggest one is, Michigan has him at, over $1 million a year as a strength and conditioning coach. And I think de facto, right hand to the head coach. If you talk to the players and what, their interactions with him day to day were, he's basically right hand and kind of, holding them accountable, just up there with Harbaugh and their position coach. So, that I'd say he was a big part of the culture. What do you think about beyond just the doing of the job, because I think that his assistant, getting promoted, I think he can do the job of, hey, hit these extra reps. But when it comes to the culture piece and the retaining some of these players, I mean, what do you think that will be, and why do you think he made this decision? Like, it was a little surprising to me.
So it is surprising because over the weekend we were getting positive news saying, the staff felt positive they were able to retain him. But what occurred was Harbaugh was aggressive with the Chargers, and they offered him a large money offer. The number I've read is about $2 million.
Yep.
So from what I've heard from some sources that I trust is, he came to Michigan with a contract request, and Michigan was unwilling to meet it. And because of that, he took the opportunity with the Chargers because it was money he couldn't turn down. They doubled his salary,
Yeah.
So this is, in my opinion, this is a fumble on Ward. This is a fumble on the athletic department for letting him go. I have heard some positive news on other candidates for other positions, which, for example, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little later, but Michigan's reaching out to the recruiting director at Notre Dame right now, which would be a big money hire. I can't remember his name at the moment, but yeah, I'm pretty disappointed with this. And then, looking at Justin Truss is his name, the new strength and conditioning coach. Listen, these are big shoes. This is the best strength and conditioning coach in the country. And philosophically, is he going to be exactly the same? I mean, it's like we've all had the same teachers for math. We've all had the same teachers for history, whatever, you name the subject. It's the teacher that makes the subject, right? So can he translate what Ben Herbert was able to translate? I don't know. That's to be determined. I mean, obviously he obviously knows the systems. He obviously knows the workout requirements or the expectations. And I'm sure he will push the players to it, but will the players buy in? That's the question, right? Are they going to buy in? Do they believe in him? That's to be determined, and I don't know. I don't have the answer.
Yeah, before and we're about to hit some of the hires, which I think they're or promotions, which I think are notable and positive. But yeah, I think the only way this works for the NFL and for the brass, the only way that Harbaugh, I think, was able to sell this, because strength and conditioning coaches in the NFL, as we know, but maybe some people in the audience don't, the strength and conditioning coaches in the NFL don't make as much usually. And a lot of these players, especially the high end, like the highest players, have their own personal trainers. Right. So, so I think the only way that they were able to sell this is that he's going to be the associate or assistant head coach of the program.
So, the highest paid strength and conditioning coach in the NFL is $750,000. They're going to pay Herbert $2 million. So that's what happened. And I'm, by all accounts, everyone said Ben Herbert wanted to be here. This wasn't a situation like Jesse Minter where he was ready to move on.
Right.
It was just an opportunity you can't pass when you're getting doubled your salary. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a surprise. Now, if the rumor of 10 years, a 10-year contract was real, and look, I've given Ward so much crap on this show. However, if Ben Herbert's asking for a 10-year deal, then again, I heard that from one or two places. Yeah. But yeah, so we don't know the particulars. But if that was the case, I actually kind of get it.
Well, I'll say this. I do know he did want a longer term deal with more money, right? We know that. But I don't know about the 10 years or not. But I'll ask you this. Why not give him a 10-year deal? I mean, let me just throw this at you.
Yeah.
He's the best in the game.
Yes.
Well, he's not changing. Your coaches might change. And there's not a coach who wouldn't want Ben Herbert. There's just not.
Right.
And you're right what you were saying earlier. Like, the strength and conditioning coach is the second most important position in the program because the players actually spend more time with him than the head coach.
Yeah,
they do because of off-season requirements. So it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important for the culture. And I was reading some posters on some message boards. They made some good points. The amount of money that you would spend in increasing Ben Herbert's pay, you would save in having to pay other players leaving in the transfer portal. Because with Ben Herbert leaving, you have players, and I've heard on the defensive side of the ball, who are very unhappy with us. And now they're being offered $500,000 and more, and that has been confirmed by our own director of the NIL what it was Champion Circle, Jared Wagner.
Champion Circle.
That's been confirmed by him. So that's not like just a number being thrown out there.
Right.
Well, the amount of money that these players might be requesting they're being offered from other programs, you could have saved by just upping the salary of the best strength and conditioning coach in the country.
Yeah.
I would have done it personally,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we also don't really have like an NCAA 14-esque or Madden-esque like look at the total pool of money, what's being allocated to who, how much are they planning to pay a Chad Bowden versus a whoever. So that's the one thing, like how much flexibility would that have allowed Sherrone more than to fill out the rest of the staff and maybe go poach some people at attractive salaries. So that would be my one thing. But like, I think I mostly agree that this if they didn't do everything possible to keep Ben Herbert, then I would maybe add that as another notch of reasons why Ward should have been canned a year ago, and probably
look at this too, though. We got the new Big Ten TV contract. They're going to be making $85 to $100 million a year in revenue. I mean, we're war chesting now. I mean, this is an arms race in the Big Ten, right? You got major programs coming in. I don't know. To me, to stay competitive and to fortify your university, this was a good move. But it is what it is, and we got to move forward.
Yeah, and we did. Look, Sherrone Moore isn't just sitting around letting this stuff happen. He made two moves. One I think was a really good move to promote Grant Newsome to offensive line coach. He knows the position. He obviously has been in the program now, and that's a position that's near and dear to Sherrone Moore's heart, obviously. So like to hand that to Grant Newsome is, I think, the biggest like positive statement you could ask for, like the fact that he's putting his stamp of approval on Newsome as coach. I think it was a good move. So what did you think of that one?
Oh, excellent. And this is a home run hire. This is someone already familiar with the program, already familiar with the blocking scheme, already familiar with the mentality, basically getting mentored by Sherrone Moore, two-time Joe Moore award-winning offensive line coach, right? So
right.
I mean, this is as smooth as a transition you could have. The players are familiar with him, and this is an up-and-comer. This kid's like, by all accounts, Grant Newsome is a rising star. So I mean, we couldn't be more happy with this addition.
Absolutely. And so I think it was a great move. Apparently there were some whispers that other schools were interested in him. So I'm this was one that I was a little worried about in terms of retaining. So I'm glad that they were able to lock him down. And so in addition to that, obviously Justin Tress was promoted, the assistant to Ben Herbert, who was with Ben Herbert at previous stop as well for a while. So, this wasn't somebody who just kind of came along or, just, hey, I'm going to go try out Michigan for a year. He's been kind of ingrained in the Ben Herbert way of doing things.
Right.
He might not have quite the charisma or quite the, whatever the word is, gravitas of Ben Herbert right away. But I think he will do the job capably for sure. And then from there, we'll see kind of what he can make of it.
I mean, we hope, see, the thing is too, though, is the results that they were getting from these kids year after year, the development, the weight gain. I mean, it was insane. So, I mean, we hope we can get at least 90% of the, same production that we got from Herbert. I mean, but who knows? Maybe this guy is his own, his own man, and he really takes off and puts his own style on it. and it really, it pays off, and he could be an up and comer that we're not aware of yet.
It's no doubt. And it wouldn't be the first time that an up and comer absolutely lights it up these last couple of years, the Michigan program.
Right. That's right.
I mean, I think we could think of more examples of
Campbell.
Yeah, like or freaking Mike McDonald. I mean, who had heard of him in college?
Jesse Minter. I mean, look at Jesse Minter. I mean, we've been hitting it out of the park. We've been very fortunate.
Absolutely. So, so one more that I wanted to, in terms of moves that are being considered, you mentioned it a little bit ago that they are making a run at Chad Bowden, who's over at Notre Dame right now, and apparently considered the unsung hero of the Notre Dame recruiting, and has been. So I think, look, our recruiting, there's no secret, and I think I've said this before. I think Michigan does a tremendous job of getting the best 3 and 4 stars that they can. But the 5 stars and like the higher 4 stars sometimes slip through Michigan's fingers. You can blame lots of things for that. It would be nice to just hit 1 or 2, because the Will Johnsons of the world, the Mason Grahams of the world, would they have come to the university 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Maybe, but I think we worry that we got to kind of get these pieces in for the recruiting side, or the program could downslide just because we didn't see it last year. Last year, Michigan was loaded with a bazillion 4th and 5th year players. So I think getting somebody like a Chad Bowden to help shore up recruiting would really help. I mean, what's your take there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, especially when you have a program like Notre Dame that consistently recruits in the top 10. I mean, obviously the brand is a huge selling point, which blows my mind. I can't stand it. It ticks me off, actually. But, like they just get kids all over the country. I mean, the states they're pulling some of these kids out is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But like Mike Elston, who was formerly of Notre Dame, he can at least, we can at least get more perspective. Like one of the biggest benefits of getting Chris Partridge was he was a part of Ole Miss, right?
Right.
So we get to see how the SEC worked, right? We got to see under the hood. And he tried creating Empower with Jim Harbaugh. Mm-hmm. So I would think if we were to get Chad Bowden, which is confirmed by Notre Dame insiders, by the way, that we're reaching out, we're pursuing him. Mm-hmm. I think it would be just a massive advantage, so from what we're hearing, right, is Sherrone Moore is trying to build and grow this recruiting department. And this would be a major addition, in my opinion.
Yeah. He's also looking at, I believe, bringing in an NIL consulting firm.
Right. Which we need. Yeah.
And kind of opening that up a bit. I mean, let's applaud Champion Circle on doing the work that, kind of some almost thankless work at times in terms of doing what they can with the NIL program and kind of bring it a little closer to the university. We talked about it last week as well. That apparently for a long time they wouldn't even ask donors to help with NIL. And so now, with Chad Bowden coming in, I think he would help encourage. I think Sherrone Moore also seems to be in the new school of thought of, you're going to need to open up the wallet a little bit and work on some sponsorship deals here.
100%. Plus, there seems to be administrative support now because players were getting poached, and it opened some eyes. So let's hope it's all in 100%. But, you never know. You never know with Michigan, right? So they could make it difficult, but hopefully, it's trending the right way.
Absolutely. And so for coordinators, we switched it up a little bit from last week, obviously, because, there are some players or some coaches. Obviously, Herbert was here last week. We know that he's off to the Chargers now. So I put just the kind of coordinator ideas. Obviously, Kirk Campbell is being discussed pretty heavily to be the offensive coordinator at this point. I would be absolutely flummoxed if anybody else gets picked for that position.
Agree.
DC's a little more complex, right? Because We think it might be Clinkscale and Elston getting elevated, but there could be some external hires that are being looked at as well for defensive coordinator.
Yeah, so I think it will be an external hire. I think Clinkscale will be co-defensive coordinator.
Okay.
Yeah, so the two names that I'm hearing right now is Jim Leonard, which I mentioned last week,
Yep.
and then the new name that's come up, which has some very interesting ties, Ravens ties and Vanderbilt with Jesse Minter ties, is John Aragawu. He was a former linebacker coach for the Ravens and Vanderbilt when Jesse Minter was the defensive coordinator. So he's the name to watch because what they want to do is they want to incorporate the Ravens system.
Wow.
They want to continue to keep going with that schematic system. So that, in my opinion, that'd be huge. I mean, that'd be a home run hit, another home run hit. So if they can do that, that's the name to watch right now. Jim Leonard's a good one too. So even if Jim Leonard comes, because I don't know if people know, he had top 10 defenses. All right.
Yeah.
So he's a very good defensive coordinator. He was a defensive analyst last year for Illinois because he had hip surgery, so he couldn't do on-field duties. And for recovery and stuff, rehabilitation. But so if he were to come, so everything that I'm hearing, right, or reading is that they're going to still transition the same defensive scheme. They're not moving off of it. They like it. The players are familiar with it. So regardless of the defensive coordinator who comes in, that's where they're going to go.
Yeah, and I was definitely a little concerned because Leonard runs a 3-4, mixes in some 2-4-5.
Right.
So a little different from what we do, like a 4-2-5 and a multiple. So would he be willing to run the Michigan defense? And that's the question there.
I mean, that's a must. So it's a must. If they're not willing to learn the new system, then they're not going to get the job. So, and I'm not just saying that because I don't know anything. I'm hearing that from people who do know. So, the thing is the players are already familiar with it. You have Steve Clinkscale, who's the DB coach. I mean, this guy probably, to be honest, he could probably do this, but I know they want someone experienced because it's a first-time head coach and a first-time offensive coordinator. So that's kind of just the situation.
Yeah. So yeah, Leonard, I definitely have to keep an eye on this John Aragawu, and looks like he's currently at the Giants as inside linebackers coach.
Right. So he would get a promotion to defensive coordinator in college. And you just saw the last two defensive coordinators. I mean, look at Mike McDonald right now. He's looking like the lead for the Washington Commanders job to be head coach.
Yeah.
So, it's a great opportunity.
I think it's a great name. And I always like when something gets pulled that I haven't heard yet. So I'm in. Let's see I'm for the best candidate that will run the system and maintain what we have and not change anything that doesn't need to be changed.
Right. Yeah.
You can make an argument that the offense could be a little bit more like maybe we could sling it a little more on occasion.
Yeah.
On occasion.
And that's where Kirk Campbell comes into play, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of hoping with that.
Yeah. And I've watched Alex Orji's film. He's actually got an arm. We'll see how it translates to college because a lot of it's high school film, but the film I've seen, he's got an arm. And so I know that you're thinking maybe transfer still with that position, but if they can get his arm working. We know his legs work, and we know he can run. So
yeah, I mean, if they can get his accuracy down, I mean, this kid could be a stud. I mean, he's got everything there.
Our buddy who has been here almost every week since I started hosting, and before that, Dependent Fanatic has his own channel. Great guy, and he's nailed it. Right, promoting from within has been a theme, and it should be a theme because guess what? Michigan just won the national championship with the staff, and so I think that the logical progression there is that you want to continue the success and continue utilizing the staff that you can from 2023 and the tree within that. So I don't hate it. if you have a DC candidate like a Jim Leonard, if Jim Leonard's willing to come to Ann Arbor and run the 4.25, heck yeah, let's do it. But yeah, I think you're right, Dependent, and you'll probably see mostly that with a few externals. All right, so a couple things before we get to way too early depth chart for the defense. Do want to remind everybody, of course, to hit the like button, and we thank you for that. It literally just takes a second of your time. It's free, and it helps push everything up in the algorithm, so to speak, when you hit the like button. So do that. Hit the subscribe. We are in a battle with Ohio State and their channel. And so we need about 1,900 subscribers to kind of get up to where they are. Michigan's been beating Ohio State for 3 years. Don't let Ohio State beat Michigan in the Voice of College Football channels. Hit that subscribe button and tell your friends to hit that subscribe button too. When you're doing your shopping on Amazon, the link is in every single description of every single video in the Voice of College Football Network. Just go ahead and hit that if you're doing shopping anyway. We're not asking people to do shopping that they wouldn't already do or use Amazon if they're not already going to use it. But if you're already going to use it, you might as well send Mark Rogers a couple of bucks, and help support the channel. So go ahead and hit that link. Same shopping experience. We got our Patreon and YouTube membership. Check that out. We've got a Discord chat that goes 24/7 to talk not just Wolverines, but college football in general. And last but not least, our merch store. We have a bunch of amazing products, from shirts to dog bowls, to socks, to everything, including some Rose Bowl and national championship merch. So check that out. Our friend Joey Foster continues to keep that stocked with new merch, and we really appreciate Joey and all the work that he does. And of course, Moose is here in the clutch to give the link. So thank you, Moose, for always being here and helping with the promos and stuff. So we appreciate that. Okay, without further ado, we've discussed the offense, but now we get to talk about the national championship defense and the fact that a lot of people are coming back. Not everybody, but a lot of people are coming back, including two that I think had an absolutely standout performance this past year. Kind of starting off with Derek Moore and what he's doing. If it wasn't for Derek Moore, it's possible that Jalen Milroe gets that ball into the end zone, and we have overtime continuing, and possibly Alabama comes back to win that game. Derek Moore, unsung hero, thank you for your service and for getting us to the national championship game. So Derek Moore, I think, is going to be a starter on the edge, and Josiah Stewart is my other one. Again, speaking to the scouting ability of Michigan staff to be able to find someone, at somewhere like coastal Carolina, and then that player literally, if it wasn't for him, obviously hit J.C. Latham, right? To kind of, again, he was another big part of that play. So Josiah Stewart, Coastal Carolina, as your other kind of starter on the edge. Those two players, just their work kind of speaks for themselves at this point. It almost feels like.
Yeah, and I think Derek Moore and Josiah Stewart are going to take a step forward. I mean, they're both just, quick as hell. That's the thing that's beautiful about college football is just the progression year after year of a player. And I think next year you're going to see them really just take off, because you got the defensive line, which we will be talking about, that's going to be intact and remain the same, right? So
yep.
Our front seven is a problem, in a good way. So, I think you're right on here. I think Enau Etta, though, will be more of a defensive end, Chris Jenkins role. He's like 290 pounds.
Yeah.
But TJ Guy's a name to watch. I think he's going to be if I had to give a name to keep an eye on, I think TJ Guy is going to really step up next season.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I've definitely seen some good things with him. So yeah, he is a big dude and could be used on a couple different positions. So I'm sure they'll figure some. As we know, they rotate people in and out pretty regularly. So I'm sure they will find a role for him, who the defensive coordinator is. But that's definitely there. D tackle, you got the big man Kenneth Grant, who I know Mason Graham is legit too, and I get it, but Kenneth Grant is just the way he was when he was going up against players, it just seemed like a complete and total mismatch. I think he was one of the unsung heroes of the entire season. So him at nose, I think, will be a really good, piece there. And then, Mason Graham, I think that one, is maybe our best defender in the entire team. Used to be a wrestler.
Right.
So I think, uses some of that ability sometimes, in his play as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we got Rayshon Benny coming up. That's excellent depth. We're lucky to have him. He'd be a starter at 70% of most D1 colleges. And then Trey Pierce, what you have there, that's the one to watch. That's the next one, right? He's gonna be playing the Cam Goody role. And there's a lot of optimism with him. A lot of good word from him in the bowl prep. So I think our defensive tackle is our strongest unit.
Yeah, I mean, he could. There's a couple. Like I said, I think he will be utilized somewhere. I think it's just a question of where they put him. But
yeah, I think Eda's going to be in the Chris Jenkins role. He's about 290 right now.
Jenkins role.
He's a monster. So, we'll probably see him get some good reps next season.
Absolutely. So on inside linebacker, you've got two studs here. So even though I've got Barham first, I think you got to talk about Ernest Talisman for a second. So Ernest Talisman obviously came from Nebraska, and it almost felt like, I understand he technically didn't start, but he played 438 snaps according to Pro Football Focus. He played quite a bit, even though he wasn't technically starter, and was 22nd in run defense. So he's a baller. He's going to start. And Jayshawn Barham, obviously, they got him from Maryland. A great player, big linebacker, and I think a good fit for what we try to do on defense. I mean, what do you think about these two players in particular?
Freak athletes. These dudes are monsters. I mean, these dudes. I mean, listen, we had great play with Michael Barrett and Junior Colson. There could be a little step down in production simply because of the youth and the inexperience, but not a step down in talent. And actually, I'd argue, and Junior Colson's pretty damn talented. I'd argue we could get a step up in actual athletic talent, athleticism at this position. Joshua Barton was a top 100. I think he was a top 100 recruit. Ernest Hausman was one of those under the radar guys, but his performance on the field makes him a top recruit, right? I mean, he should have been. I mean, they're monsters. I'm really excited about that. I think Jimmy Rolder is going to be an interesting player to watch. He's my TJ guy at the linebacker position. He's going to get a lot of playing reps because they like to rotate, like they did last year. And then, Jaden Hood, man, I had high expectations for him out of Florida. He's from the Miami area, top 300 recruit. Maybe this is his year. He can start getting a little more field, see a little more playing time, and do a little more.
Yeah, and looks like Moose is predicting Cole is also gonna play a prominent role at linebacker. So
Cole, who is Cole?
That's what I'm.
Because I don't have him on my depth chart at all.
That's what I was like. I don't have him, but Let's see here.
Cole Sullivan. No way. He's a freshman. You see about Cole Sullivan. Cole Sullivan's a freshman, likely going to be redshirted. So I don't. Although
right.
you know what though, you got the 4 game rule. Maybe he sees some special team action. It could happen, right? So maybe. But if you do see him, I would suspect less than 4. I'd say 4 games or less. I don't think they'd burn his red shirt. We're deep right now. So, but Cole Sullivan, yeah, he will be a monster. Yeah.
Even if he red shirts, then you can still do a couple of games and, like you said, special teams or something else. So yeah, you'll see him. I think it's just a question of how they utilize him, and they'll probably do the red shirt like you're saying. But yeah, great player. I mean, I agree with you. Moose really takes a laser focus on recruiting. So you'll hear some names sometimes they'll drop that are people that he's followed in recruiting. But yeah, I agree. I think you might see him. Okay, one of my favorites to talk about. Cornerback, and it's one of my favorites because I get to talk about Will Johnson, who, what is there to say about Will Johnson other than one of the best players we've ever had? I mean, at this point, being able to actually go toe-to-toe with Marvin Harrison Jr. and get that interception on him. I mean, maybe 5 players in the country, if that, could pull that off. Just incredible player. Can make any play. He might be good for almost an interception a game. I mean, he's that good. Like at almost every game, I'm like, oh, Will Johnson got an interception. I mean, that's crazy. So I think it's very safe to say he's going to be the starting. And then there's of course a debate behind him, but I'm giving it to Jaden McBurrows right now. Some of the plays that I've seen him make, I think he's taken tremendous strides this past year. And I think they're going to want to not do what they've done and get a transfer for that position, or get a transfer. Like, they'll probably get transfers in to compete. They always do with some of these positions. But I think it goes to McBurrows. What do you think about those two? And then we'll hit.
Will Johnson is the best cornerback in the country. I don't care. He's going top 10. Maybe he could push top 5. That's hard to do for a corner. But top 10, you can call it now. Place your bets. He's going top 10. I think it could be DJ Waller opposite of because he got the most reps during bowl season and towards the end of the year. I do think this is a portal position where we are going to, just like we did with Josh Wallace, I think that's going to be a major thing to see. Jaden McBurrows, I think, is going to be the Sanderson of next season. I think him there. Cody Jones following up behind him. I have him second in the nickelback position.
Interesting.
Keon Saab, I think, is going to stick to safety, or possibly do that dime backer role, which is that third safety, which also does a little of the nickel position, a little similar roles, but a little more in the box. But I mean, this is another strong position group. We just need to find a true second cornerback, right? Now, a name to watch though is Jair Hill, right?
Yeah. I don't have him here, but I thought he's definitely in my brain.
Yeah, Jair Hill is crazy talented, a little under the radar. He was around a 100 recruit, 100 like overall, and apparently he had some maturing to do, right? But like a lot of freshmen. So
yeah.
I think you could see maybe spring ball. He's a name to watch. Competition wise, he's a name to watch. But I do think this is a portal position, just like quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think there's definitely some debate. I think I've heard a couple different sources on the Keon Saab thing, and I'm down with that. But I understand what you're saying about who get McBurrows having players having more reps. I get it. So I think it'll come down to whoever takes that DC role and where they want to put these people. But regardless, I'd like to see Keon Saab as a starter, whether it's a nickelback, whether it's some position where he's featured prominently, because what he was able to do last year.
He's next for sure.
I think he's earned the right to be a starter. It's just where do they put him when Rod Moore and Makari Page are both coming back, as we know, which is huge. I mean, getting both of those for experience, and some of what they were able to do, especially Rod Moore with the interception that was heard around the world against Ohio. So with both of those players coming back, I think it's safe to say that safety's in good hands, right, TJ?
Oh yeah, I mean safety. I love this position. I love this position group. I think Zeke Berry, Brandon Hillman, what a grab last year from Notre Dame. I mean, like you said, Keon Saab. I mean, we are very, very healthy in this position. I think Quentin Johnson's actually not returning though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. We'll see. We'll confirm that. But other than that,
I did a search for it. I couldn't. I heard that he might not be coming back, but I didn't get confirmation either way. So but, I could delete him if we get confirmation he's gone.
Fair. But I mean, this position group, I mean, Rod Moore, Makari Page, you can't ask. I mean, especially the back end of the defense, I don't know. I think we have another top 10 defense. I really do. I don't think you're going to see a drop off, even with a new defensive coordinator. I mean, I think the scheme is so damn complex that college quarterbacks just cannot read it. That's why they see ghosts. Jim Harbaugh says this, right? I think the scheme in itself with the players we have, this is a top 10 defense again. The offense is the only question, and it's the quarterback to me. And I'm not worried about the offensive line, even though we're replacing so many starters.
Me neither.
Every starter under Sherrone Moore has gone to the NFL. Every single one. Every starting five offensive lineman has gone to the NFL. And all these guys are ripe. They're ready. Miles Hayden, we talked about offense last year, but I mean, I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah. Dependent Fanatic. I think McBurrows could step up. TJ mentioned Jair Hill as another that could step up. But I see McBurrows taking that role. Or they'll probably bring somebody in to compete. But I think this time around it'll stay in house. I hope. That would be nice because that means the development is working, the coaching's working, and all that good stuff.
I mean, how'd you feel about Josh Wallace though?
I mean, pretty good player.
Yeah, I mean, the competition's healthy. As long as it's healthy competition.
Iron sharpens iron. That's what they always say, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, just kind of summing up the defense there. Like you said, I don't have as many concerns with that position, with any of those position groups, really. And yeah, top 10, I think that's fair to say. Maybe top 5. I mean, it's up there. It's a good defense. It's a championship defense, and yeah, I think the offense is what's going to really need to be shored up a bit. But yeah, this area I don't feel nearly as concerned about, or concern is strong, but the offense just is going to be younger. It's going to be players that we haven't seen as much.
Right. Yeah.
That's the difference.
But we'll be all right. I'm honestly optimistic, I mean, I know we're not there. We're not talking about season expectations, but I do think 10 wins is, even with our schedule, we can do 10 wins. It could be tough. Maybe 9 is where we land, but I think we're a 10-win team. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
So Moose is saying Jair Hill at CB2. Yeah. So there you go. 10-2 is what I'm thinking. There's been some people that have lowered their predictions after Ben Herbert went to the Chargers, but I know that the schedule isn't the easiest. I understand that, we're playing Texas. I understand that, we've got some tough games in the Big Ten conference play, but also, with the defense we're bringing back, and I believe in Kirk Campbell's ability to call an offense and to develop a quarterback. I think he's proven he can develop a quarterback. And so with all of that, 2 losses and then getting into the 12-team playoffs seems possible. I mean, sure, like, is 8-4, 9-3, is that possible too? Sure. Like, yeah, you could drop to Texas, you could drop to Oregon, Ohio State, or maybe a USC. But that would mean Michigan basically loses all the games that are the tough games and beats the whatever you want to call the not so good teams.
But I wouldn't be afraid of USC. They lose Caleb Williams. Their defense is garbage. I mean, USC does not fit. They just don't. Oregon, okay. Texas, all right, and then Ohio State is Ohio State, but we've had their number, obviously. So I think we can do it. Penn State is that little pest that just sticks around, right? But we don't even play Penn State next year, do we?
Nope,
so
we do not.
Yes, never mind. And we get Washington on a very down year next year. I mean, they're not going to be what they were this year. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I have immense respect for Fish, but that's going to be a 2 or 3 year, I think, getting that up to where it was because of all the players that just left, went to the NFL, whatever. So yeah, good point, Jay Marion. They all lose their quarterbacks. I do think that Miller Moss is going to be good. I actually think that because they don't have a superhero quarterback anymore, and they have Miller Moss, who, by the way, is still good. I think that the play calling improved when he was in the game because Riley actually had to change it up a little bit and distribute the ball around, have kind of a little bit more balance to the offense. It just seemed to flow better with Miller Moss for whatever reason. And I understand Caleb is special and is going to go first overall and all of that stuff. But I don't know. I actually think that from an offensive perspective, they'll be okay. Defense, yeah, pretty bad. And it's going to stay pretty bad, I think, for another year or two.
Right. I do too. Yeah, agreed. I'm not too worried about it. And it's a home game for us, right?
USC, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. In the big house. Mm-hmm. Look out. All right. Well, one more topic that we've got today. So we heard that Roman Wilson was lighting it up at the Reese's Senior Bowl, considered uncoverable. And the separation that he was getting, I don't know if you saw any of the tape, but I was just watching him get this separation on these defenders, and it was pretty great. And we watched him during the season. That Nebraska play when he literally catches the ball over the guy's helmet was just unreal. And yes, I understand. Michigan runs a run-heavy system, relying on the tight ends. But even despite that, Roman Wilson was able to break out and actually look like an Ohio. I'm going to say it, an Ohio State level receiver. Come at me, Ed, and just come at me, because I think the way that he ran his routes, the way he got separation, the way he was able to execute on deep and medium balls. It's something that Michigan doesn't get to see very often, and we saw it again in the tape today.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, he's a 10'6", 900-meter guy, right? So he's fast as hell. His hands too, very underrated, right? Not talked about enough. How many balls did he drop this year? I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember if any.
Maybe like under 5.
Yeah, I would say under 5. And extremely talented wide receiver. Unfortunately, he probably will go 4th round, 3rd. I mean, maybe he's worked with the combine and Senior Bowl. Maybe he's going to work his way up the draft board. I'm sure he's going to kill the combine too with his speed and athleticism. I'll tell you right now, the Lions, I would love it. He could play the Khalif Raymond role. I think he's gonna be we see what my guy for the 49ers, Ronnie Bell. We see what he's doing.
Bell.
Yeah, well, we see what he's doing in the NFL, right? I think Roman Wilson will have a very good career with whatever team he goes to.
Yeah, I believe I'd like to see Ronnie Bell continue to get more snaps. but yeah, Roman Wilson is going to make a team better in the NFL.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Lions, and the Lions have Donovan Peoples-Jones now, don't they, as well?
They do. He's a free agent.
He's a free agent, so they
Yeah,
might not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
might
don't
not
know what they're
bring
gonna
him
do.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Roman Wilson would be a good position. That you could also be a Chargers pickup. You know, because I expect Jim Harbaugh to draft multiple Michigan players. I don't think it'll be all Michigan players on the draft board, but expect to see some familiar names picked by the Chargers this year.
The one that worries me is Zach Zinter. And the reason why I say worries me is because I want the Lions to get Zach Zinter in the second or third round to fill Jonah Jackson's position, because I don't think we'll re-sign him. So, dude, Zach Zinter with the Lions? Yes, please.
Yeah. I think he'll go Keegan. I think Harbaugh's going to go Keegan.
That's fine.
If I had to guess.
That's fine. I'm okay with it.
Because there's a weakness at that position in the Chargers at left guard. I was kind of looking that up, and it seemed like there could be interest in a change there. So I think a Keegan could come in and be a starter pretty quickly at the Chargers. But yeah, so that would mean maybe Zinter could go to the Lions. And look, the Lions. Man, I hope Campbell is wrong and that wasn't the last time you're going to be there. I think your team is too talented. I think the Lions are too good to just go from that to now. Like, I don't think they're going to be satisfied with that being the ceiling.
No, and with Ben Johnson coming back, I mean, I know this is a Michigan podcast, but with Ben Johnson coming back, I feel very optimistic about next season. I think we'll be all right. Yeah,
it's a Michigan podcast, but you know what? I think it's the Lions is kind of like a extension in a way, and I think we were all watching that game. Ben Johnson staying, I think, was repeated all over Twitter today, in different forms, and so I think that's great that he's staying. So let's see here. Zinter isn't going into. So Sean Garner's one of our Buckeyes, who I call him one of our reasonable Buckeyes, who's on the Ocho panel regularly on Monday nights. Zinter isn't going till third at earliest. Won't be able to test because of his injury, so he won't. Okay.
Right. Which it could happen. Plus, guard is a position like running back. They don't really get drafted till second, third, fourth round anyway. So. It's possible.
Yeah. This is a very good take. It took Michigan 3 tries.
Yep.
Great take. I mean, it's true.
And they're doing the same thing Michigan did. It's unfinished business. Did you see the quotes today from Ben Johnson and Amon-Ra? They said it's unfinished business, which is exactly what Blake Corum and JJ said last year.
Yep. Business isn't finished, and now business is finished. Yep. So there you have it. Look, TJ, we really appreciate you coming back onto the show. If you want to give kind of a final thought, and then all the places that someone could find your work, feel free.
Yep. So I'm on Twitter at Ronin Sports Talk. I do a lot of Michigan sports. I give my takes on it, but I also do a lot of, just reposting of things I find interesting. Take on Michigan, I'm optimistic, but we got work to do, right? So we'll see how the coaching staff shakes out. We'll see what they do with the recruiting department. But, I mean, I think, the next season we should still be optimistic for. I see some people like settling for 8-4, but I think we are a 10-win team, but we'll see. Thank you, Dependent. And, we'll see, we'll see what they do with the rest of the recruiting staff. And then also we got portals, and recruiting should start picking up soon. That's something to look forward to now.
Yeah, I think you'll see some increase in the portal and transfers, and it's encouraging to see some of the moves that we're seeing with NIL and hopefully bringing NIL and Michigan a little closer together, so that because honestly, like TJ, we have the largest and I think one of the richest donor groups in America at Michigan.
Yep.
the businesses, the business owners, Dave Portnoy, and Stephen Ross, and the list goes on. Thomas Edward, Patrick Brady Jr. About to make a cool 300 mil doing broadcasting. There's some people with some dollar bills
Yep.
around the organization, and boosters and things like that. So
Mhm.
I think that if we can really bring those two together more, I think that's really going to help, because I think we could open up the money cannon just as well as anybody. At least if we aren't willing to give a 17-year-old 5-star player the money, I debate that with the highest people. I do think an Underwood is worth paying,
Yes.
but
Yes.
like, if we use most of the money to retain players, that's not so bad either, because obviously retention is kind of our thing, and like
Yeah.
growth of existing players is kind of our thing. So so at least funnel them, channel the money into the things that Michigan historically has done well at.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I would say this is my position, because we know there's a philosophical,
Yeah.
situation in Michigan with NIL. The regents feel a certain way.
Mhm.
There was a belief that Harbaugh felt a certain way, although we still weren't even doing Harbaugh's vision of NIL. But
Yeah.
if we can do a team-based salary of $50K a year, get these kids
Mhm.
vehicles like Utah, and get these kids housing like other programs do. If
Right.
you can just do those essentials, that alone, with our brand and our prestige of a program, we would be able to recruit even better than we are. Like, us being at 17 isn't acceptable. Like, no one's saying be Miami, because there's people out there, they go with the extreme. Oh, you want to be like A&M, you want to be like Miami. No one's saying that. But like you said, the Bryce Underwoods, the foundation cornerstone players, yeah, those guys should probably get a little bit of money, because there actually is a player that did happen with that a lot of people don't like to talk about, and that was Will Johnson. He had an NIL deal before he signed his letter of intent. So it's not something we do a lot as a program, but it's not something we don't ever do. And if people don't think one more year funds or those who stay funds are pay for play, they are.
Right.
There is ways to do it legally. Like, a lot of people want to jump on Miami. Well, what people don't know about Miami, and listen, I'm not saying Miami's moral, right? But what they do is
I think I have to pull up the image of Justin Scott with the money. Hold on.
yeah, right. Okay, so what Miami does, though, is they have Life Wallet, so they run all their stuff through Life Wallet, which is legal NIL.
Oh.
So they sign these like marketing deals where they do social media stuff, and these kids are paid right off the bat. And one thing that John Ruiz does, who owns Life Wallet and is the main contributor to their collective, he doesn't renegotiate either. He tells them we do a one deal and we don't renegotiate. So I think that's very interesting. Now, I'm not saying go that route, but I am saying get the basics, get the essentials, and we'll be more competitive. We just need to recruit around 10. If we can get top 10 classes, we'll be okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely true.
No.
All righty. Let's see. Of course. Yeah, my screen share is. Yeah, I'm just gonna not do screen share because it's very questionable.
You see, Aaron Childs. You remember Aaron Childs was going to commit to Michigan, but he went to Clemson, or did he go to Florida too? And then he had money in his commitment photo too. You familiar with Aaron Childs?
Aaron Childs. Yeah, I think I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he also just like this had money in his.
This is absurd. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
But then the NCAA doesn't do anything about it. They rather go after Tennessee, Florida, and Florida State, but because you're not supposed to financially induce any kid to come to a school. Well, that's happening,
Yeah, I just think let's make it fair. Let's like you said, minimum base salary $50K. I think that seems very fair to me. Give players a living while they're they don't have to flip burgers while they're going to classes.
They can't even do that. Well, they might be able to now, but before you couldn't even get a job like that. Did you know that? If they got a job, like a side job prior to NIL, the rules might have changed, but if they had a job where they needed to make extra income, they would lose their scholarship, or they would lose their ability to play D1 football. It's ridiculous. NCAA is a joke, man.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I'm just saying, like, while there's players getting paid millions and coming to signing in a Lambo, do we have to go after burger stuff and watching Zoom practices? Let's just enforce across the board. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're going to enforce the one, we are starting to hear Tennessee, Florida, Florida State, NCAA is going after them. A couple of them.
Okay. Let's do A&M. Let's do Georgia. Let's do Alabama. Okay. Clemson. I love the Dabo Sweeney. Oh, we don't pay players. We don't do NIL. They offered Rashawn Gary $300,000. And this was what, 2016, 2017?
Wow.
So
$300,000. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was then. And that came from Rashawn Gary. He's the one he's the source on that. So that was 6-7 years ago, or 5, 6, 7 years ago. So what are these kids getting now? Well, we know what some of them are getting. We do know some of these numbers are fabricated, but we also know that the top kids are getting $500,000 to $1 million a year, along with signing bonuses. So it's crazy.
Well, Underwood probably 7 when you combine the money and then the housing and opportunities for his family.
That's right. Okay, so you know about that. Yeah, so right. I don't know how much we can disclose that type of stuff, but those things are happening with LSU and Underwood right now. And
well, we can say allegedly because it's not official, but this is what kills me about the NIL. It's like it's all whispers and rumors, but if this was just, I think it's time, like, draw a line, either semi-pro and literally publicize everything so that we know every salary, NIL deal, incentives, everything, and it's just all above board. Or, which I don't think this is going to happen, going to literally the spirit and letter of NIL of you get paid, you get jersey sales and you get video game sales and like that kind of stuff like NFL players get, but you can't just get a bag. One or the other.
They do that now, right? So like Michigan does that with players with the MDN, but
right. Yeah. I'm saying that would be
true.
It. Like they wouldn't, they would have to stick to literally just residual from X, Y, and Z, and that's the NIL.
Right. So that's true NIL, and that's what it should be, but we know it's absolutely not that. So but I think if they could just allow schools to pay players, then just leave it alone. You don't even need to know what the hell they're getting. Who gives a crap? Just this way, because Michigan doesn't want to put its toes in the water because the NCAA is watching their every move, it's unfortunate. You have schools doing what Ohio State's doing right now is insane. They're all in. They're all in to try and beat us next season. I don't screw those guys, but
well, look, I think what I'm seeing from them is very similar with, and Ohio State fans will point out the couple of exceptions of really big bulky players that have the physical toughness, but for the most part, I'm seeing the same thing that I've seen every year from them, which is invest in the finesse players, invest in the 5-star skill players, but your depth in the trenches to match a physical team like Michigan, or heck, even Oregon, I think will give them a challenge next year. I think Oregon will give them a challenge because they're modeling their team after Georgia, basically. So
Oregon beat them last time they played, right?
Yes, they did.
I think so. Right. So Oregon will wax their ass, and you're right, because look, if you look at their portal acquisitions or the players they're getting, like Justin Scott, for example, who left Ohio State to go to Miami, they're not getting the trenches. They're not getting the defensive lineman or the offensive lineman. And the portal guy they got was the damn center from Alabama who kept fumbling the ball. Bad snaps.
They're saying that he's going to play guard. Because I've been hit on that by a bunch of Buckeyes.
Kenneth Grant will say what's up, bro. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about
congratulations, Ohio State, on getting the guy who couldn't snap the ball and an offense. I mean, look, we can rip on them a little, but the reality is, it's time. I hope that they, like Ryan Day, he's doing what he can to take the rivalry seriously. I think from perspective of NIL, and obviously we want to see obviously I would love for Michigan to just continue this win streak. That would be awesome. But at least I just don't want to see Ohio State dominate Michigan again for another 10, 12 years. I like the idea of returning volleys. And if Michigan keeps winning, that's also great.
I'll take that one. Yeah.
We'll take that.
Yeah. But I agree with you, more competitive. It better be, because if it's not, that's an us problem. That's not them being great problem. That's simply us not doing what we need to do to be competitive.
Yeah. And Sean did point out that Ohio State did a better job this year, and I agree, of keeping things a little closer on the physicality. Yeah, turnovers were a big difference in the game. That is demonstrably true.
I would agree it was better, but we still out-physicaled them. I mean, there were definitely points in the game where there was, I think in the third quarter, they actually started moving the ball on us. So I will give them that.
Yeah, they did.
But I would say majority of the game, we still had the upper hand in the trenches. But,
Yeah, last 8 minutes of the game, yeah.
But, well, I mean, even earlier, because didn't we lead the entire game? Did Ohio State ever have the lead that game? No.
I don't know about this year.
I don't think they
last year they did.
Yeah,
at times, but not this year.
Yeah. It was a closer game, and they definitely came to play. I mean, there's no doubt.
Sure, 100%.
I would say 70% of the game was still us out muscling them.
Here it is, Ohio from account 22. OSU never lead. Jay Marion, nope, it was tied was the closest it came, 17-17. Okay, got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that you're going to want to ask some Buckeyes this question. We don't know the answer to this question. Why did OSU stop pounding the rock? I can't get in Ryan Day's head, and explain that. That's a place I don't ever want to be. So but maybe Sean can chime in on that, and why they decided to stop pounding the rock, because they did have some pretty solid running back play when it was working.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Alrighty. Little bit over. Apologies everybody on that, but I think it was a good discussion. And I'm glad we did it. So TJ, go Blue. We really appreciate you coming by again. Michigan Wolverines live.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. It was a good time.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Okay. Couple of final thoughts, couple of housekeeping real quick, and then we will wrap. As I've mentioned before, please consider using the Amazon link. Just takes a second, any video, and then Mark Rogers gets a couple of bucks, and it's the same shopping experience. Also, Patreon and YouTube membership, consider that on the main channel. It's just $2.99 to be a YouTube member. Then you get access to all kinds of stuff. Check out the merch store. Lots of great merch. And, of course, our sponsors, Ticket Smarter. So you got ticketsmarter.com, BIG, for $10 off a purchase of at least $100, BIG 20 for $20 off a purchase of at least $300. And reminder that the Big Ten Live show is now Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern with Mark Rogers. That's right, folks. You can pick up the phone and call 888-99-RILEY. Love that. But you can call the numerical equivalent of that on your phone. It's just that, to me, that's easier to remember than whatever the number is. But you could do that and pick up the phone, call Mark Rogers, and talk Big Ten football this Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Our show, the Ocho, is continuing, and so Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern is the Ocho. So we just had Justin Adams and John Johnston this episode. TBD on next episode. If you have a Big Ten team that you want to talk about on the Ocho, let me know who it might be. I'm asking a Michigan channel this, so I'm pretty sure I know what the answer might be. I think I might have to save Michigan for a couple more episodes so we can, build up to it. But we'll be doing that. So coming up next is Oregon Ducks Live. And this time it is actually happening. Forgive me for last week. I didn't realize they had changed the time on me there. But this episode is coming up at 10:15 p.m. Eastern today. And it's with Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On Ducks, who's been on Voice of College Football quite a few times. Really good commentator. Oregon Ducks Live. I almost spelled something else instead of Ducks, so I'm glad I didn't do that. At 10:15 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. Feel free to hit the like button over there for them. Give them a running start. Exploring with Ben and a cast of characters, as well as Spencer McLaughlin from Locked On Ducks stopping by this episode. Sean, so we're doing every week, we're doing the equivalent of the Nebraska guys, but other people. So like last week we had Sonny Verma from the Illini cast talk Illinois. This past show we had Justin and John talk about Nebraska. Next week we're going to have someone talk about another school. Not sure which yet. Open to suggestions. And I'll post the question on Patreon, on our Discord chat today, and we'll see what people say. And maybe we'll make it a Discord thing for people who are Patreon or YouTube members to choose. That could be a thing. We'll see. But I would like to bring them back in whatever capacity we can, because they're both great. They were probably some of the best guests I've had. They're really good. So hopefully we can find a way to bring them back at some point during the year. All right. Let's see. Jim jumped ship and burned down the ship. Thanks, Captain. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Oh, we've got all kinds of poetry going on and other things and movie references. So yeah, I think it's about time to wrap for the day when we get to movie references and poems. So so there we go. Oregon Ducks Live at 10:15 p.m. Eastern here at the Voice of College Football Oregon. For everybody here at Voice of College Football, as always, I thank you for watching. Thanks for hitting the like button and doing all the things that you do to support us. And until next time, go blue. See ya.